ABC Weather Lab. Here's Rob's forecast.
Welcome back. Well, a stormy day is on tap for Acadiana tomorrow. A fairly significant risk of severe weather. We'll get to that in just a bit. First off, quick shot outside. Darius Johnson getting us our weather shot today. Beautiful wildflowers. They are blooming across Acadiana and the weeds as well. A nice breeze out there today, and those winds will be picking up tomorrow. So what kind of threats are we looking at tomorrow? Well, as we look at our severe storm threats, damaging winds. We're up in that enhanced category, at least a moderate threat for strong winds. Tornadoes also a little bit higher than what we were looking at compared to this past Saturday, and that tornado threat will go a little bit higher as you get into eastern Louisiana and southwestern Mississippi. Not expecting flooding, couple of inches of rain perhaps, and hail. There might be some nickel or quarter-size hail in the storms tomorrow. We'll get to that storm timing in just a bit. First off, though, severe weather busting out across Texas into Oklahoma and portions of Kansas into Missouri later on this evening, associated with the upper level low that's going to be knocking on our door and be in eastern Texas by this time tomorrow. Notice we have flood watches in effect for the northern part of Louisiana into Mississippi. That's where the rains are going to be heaviest, so not expecting any localized flooding here. Few spotty showers showing up on the radar, one or two poking into southwest Louisiana and portions of Acadiana, but they should be short-lived and rain chances pretty low tonight. Here's that severe weather threat for tomorrow. An enhanced risk of storms, supercell storms that could be capable of producing damaging winds in excess of 75 miles an hour and perhaps a couple of isolated strong tornadoes, EF2 or greater intensity. That translates to 111 mile an hour winds or greater, and I think at greatest risk is going to be southwestern Mississippi into portions of Mississippi, but eastern Louisiana as well. And things are going to be cooking and getting fired up right over Acadiana, so that's why we're in the mix for that enhanced risk. So here's predictive radar. Storms knocking on the Louisiana door as we head toward daybreak tomorrow. It'll be storming Arkansas back through Texas, and this is what's going to happen tomorrow. It's going to be a two-pronged severe weather threat where we might see a few isolated storms developing mid-morning, and then they'll pop up and get stronger. These sometimes produce tornadoes, so we'll watch that through the mid-morning hours going into, say, St. Landry and Avoyelles Parish and over toward Port Coupee. And then we're going to have a major squall line that could produce damaging winds and a few more embedded tornadoes and hail as well. Prime time for storms as we get into Allen, into Evangeline, Acadia, Jeff Davis Parish, right around noon tomorrow, give or take an hour. We move it an hour ahead. Still storming. This is where we could see some locally heavy downpours, but now we're getting into St. Landry, Lafayette, Vermilion Parish shortly around noon to 1 o'clock, and then the eastern parishes of Acadiana from St. Landry into Upper St. Martin, Iberia, and St. Mary parishes roughly around 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. And again, the models are not that good, so you're going to have to give or take an hour or two. And notice some of the storm structures. There could be some supercells all the way up into Mississippi that could produce damaging winds, that hail, and maybe an isolated tornado or two. Things begin to wind down toward 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Still the threat of maybe one or two severe cells. And by this time tomorrow evening, that severe weather threat will be moving into eastern Louisiana and Mississippi, and then things will quiet down thereafter. So looking at some of the severe weather parameters, and we'll look at the most important one, the high resolution rapid refresh model tornado index. And as we get to the mid-morning hours when we might see those discrete cells, we're in that slight risk category, so we'll be watching that. But watch how the colors change as we get into the afternoon. Starting to see that enhanced risk color as we get over toward Baton Rouge, eastern Louisiana, and southwestern Mississippi. That's where the risk of tornadoes may be. And there's still a tornado risk perhaps down into St. Mary Parish, and then over toward Iberville, and then into the Baton Rouge parishes as we get into the latter part of tomorrow afternoon and into eastern Louisiana, and more than likely into Mississippi as well, where we see some of those higher colors for the risk of tornadoes. So all in all, it looks like the severe weather risk ends tomorrow evening. Rainfall, I'm expecting 1 to 2 inches max. The highest amounts are going to be from Cenla, northern portions of Acadiana northward. Most of us, I think, see less than an inch of rain because storms will be cooking along at about 50 miles an hour. So it's going to come down in sheets and be moving sideways at times because we're going to have strong southerly winds. Those those southerly winds kicking up right around noon and then gusting over 30 up to 40. Anything in magenta is over 40-mile-an-hour winds. That could be associated with storms and maybe ahead of the storms as well. So it's going to be one of those rough days where the strong winds continue and then the winds will abate and then turn around out of the northwest. And because of those strong winds, a coastal flood advisory is in effect for tides coming up 1 to 2 feet above normal, especially for our friends over at Sippermore Point, also Intracoastal City and the ports of Iberia and St. Mary. So a windy, stormy day on tap for tomorrow. I think there will be several tornado watches across southern Louisiana during the day tomorrow, so keep that in mind. Storm prime time will say 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., give or take a few hours, and at some point it will be storming, rain chance at 100%. Going into Good Friday, good-looking weather. Saturday and Sunday, stellar conditions with mostly sunny skies and temperatures topping out in the mid to upper 70s. A little bit more unsettled as we go toward the end of next week, but it looks like less severe weather and just more nuisance showers and storms, but we'll see if we're going to have any major impacts on Festival International. But we'll deal with that next week.
We have time to straighten that out.
Be on the lookout tomorrow. Keep it tuned to KATC. We'll be doing cut-ins, social media, the whole 9 yards on covering those storms.
All right, very good. Thanks, Rob.